Welcome to the Sonia Buchanan Show, where we inspire one life, one smile at a time. Come on in, everyone. It is time for the Sonia Buchanan Show, where we focus on one life, one smile at a time. Listen, you all, we have an interesting topic today. Our subject is called fundamental thinking. And what inspired the fundamental thinking is that I was reading a news article on social media this weekend, and it was talking about Texas weather and what was happening. But it was what the news person was writing about. And the person was writing about a young lady who received a call to deliver a pizza to a homeowner. She was a young black girl. From the picture that I viewed, she looks about maybe between 18 to 23 years old. And she received the call to deliver a pizza to a home. Now, this is while the storm is going on. There's a terrible storm. The roads is covered by ice and snow. And so the young lady is delivering a pizza. And she drives into the driveway of the homeowner. And the driveway is a driveway that slopes down into the yard. Well, when the young lady pulls into the driveway, the car went out of control and it leered to the homeowner's flower bed and it crashed. The pizza delivery person gets out of the car and proceeds to try to push her car out of the yard, back into the street out of danger so she can go on her way after she delivered the pizza. Well, the homeowner, who was a white couple, comes out of the house and realized what was happening, and they invited the young girl into the home and they took her in during the snowstorm. Now, the person that's writing the story, I assume that they had fundamental thinking as to the reason why they were giving details as what was happening. And I'm reading the story and I'm thinking, okay, why is the writer is pointing out all these details, showing the pictures and all of that? Is he trying to make the white couple a hero that they invited a young black girl into their home while the snowstorm is going on? Or are you trying to pinpoint that the young black girl did not have enough fundamental thinking not to be out in a weather storm delivering a pizza, putting your life in danger? Nevertheless, the couple did not operate in fundamental thinking either, because you called to have a pizza delivered to your house, which you are putting someone else's life in danger so that you can eat. So the writer is fundamentally writing a story in detail. He may not been able to actually express the danger, the details, but he's definitely doing it in his writing. And I'm picking up on it, and I kind of laughed and chuckled about it, because with the racial tension that's happening in the United States, oh, wow. That is great. A white couple is inviting this black girl into the home. This is the thing that I am pinpointing and looking at. No, this is not a racial story, but this is what I see in detail, because I too am a writer and I write in details, and writers write in detail. And I'm seeing all these underlining details in this story, and I'm thinking, fundamentally thinking, all three parts failed. But as I go on, and this podcast is named Fundamental Thinking, and based on the story that I'm reading, I felt today was a great day to remind those who listen to this podcast to think about fundamental thinking in areas in your life. Now, I can't say, think fundamental thinking when we having weather issues, or fundamental thinking when we are practicing cooking, or whatever it is in your life. Fundamental thinking is really an overall life survival skills that is based on experience. There's no way that you can have fundamental thinking unless you have experienced something. But one of the great things about fundamental thinking, those thoughts can be passed on down to generation, not only passed down to generation, but it also can be shared to a friend, to another friend, to a stranger. It doesn't necessarily have to be generational, and it doesn't necessarily have to be attached to a family. It could just be attached to anything that you see that something fundamentally thinking and express should be shared, so it will not happen because you experienced it. This is how fundamental thinking is spread. This is why this story stood out so abrasively to me, because both parties, the couple or the person, it appears that neither one of them had fundamental thinking because they put each other's life in danger. I want to just bring this before you. Such as every winter, fundamentally thinking, we know to keep blankets in our car. We know to keep emergency food in our car, especially if you go through winter storms. But now that we seeing that Texas is experiencing a snowstorm, we can't even say Detroit and New York and Chicago, they go through these snowstorms. We can't exempt the fact that Georgia may go through it. Different parts, Arkansas could go through it. We now have to think about, this could happen in Florida. There's a cold front can happen in Florida, and Florida could be experiencing the same thing that Texas is experiencing. We can no longer say, oh, this is not going to happen in my area or in my state. No, we can't say that. We have to actually fundamentally think and look at this situation that's happening here in Texas. Because a couple of years ago, it happened in Georgia. Georgia experienced such a vast state of emergency because we had ice all over the road and people got stuck on the highway. And people had to take them in. The stores and emergency department stores had to take people in who could not get home. I know a person that drives a tractor trailer, and I remember during Atlanta's ice storm, I worked at a company downtown Atlanta, and they were definitely number one about safety, and they were letting us go. And I remember the person that drives trucks, he called me and said, I'm on the highway, and I remember talking to him 8:00 that morning. And when my company was giving us the okay to go home, it was probably about 11 a.m. that morning. And he called again and he said, I am still on the highway. I haven't moved that much. And I informed him, I said, where are you? And he told me where he was. And I said, get off the highway and go home. Do not leave Georgia. You're not going to be able to get out of Georgia. And he said, are you serious? And I said, yes, go home. I said, I understand your job. I said, I understand what the job was saying. He says that he was calling the dispatcher, and the dispatcher's yelling at him, go and drop off that load. And I'm telling him, no, you need to go home, And I said, I'm serious. I said, my job is telling us to go home. There is an emergency that we don't know about. And so he decided to go home. Now, I'm talking to this guy at 11 o'clock. And again, our podcast is called Fundamental Thinking. I'm expressing this it is so vital that we have fundamental thinking every day. And so I'm telling the truck driver to go home. I understand that the dispatcher is yelling because they're not in Georgia. They don't understand what was going on. And I said, go home, because I'm concerned about the safety of the person. And I said, turn around and go home. I'm talking to them at 11 o'clock a.m. And I get home, I go by the store and do all my fundamental thinking, because I may be in the house for a couple of days. I got to make sure that I have the necessary things that I could live if I am stuck here for a week. So I get home maybe about 3 o'clock, and I'm talking to the person that drives the truck. They still on the road trying to get off the exit. They've been on the same exit move maybe about 5 inches from when I talked to them from 8 o'clock in the morning, and then 11 o'clock, it's 3 o'clock, and the person stated, I'm almost to the next exit to get off. I said, get off that exit and find a way back roads to get home. And so when I got home, now it's about 6 o'clock. I'm calling the truck driver to see, where are you? He said, I finally just got to the exit. Now the exit is probably no more than a half. You know how it is, a half a mile, on the exit on a good day. Well, all this time, it's been 4 hours, and he finally got off the exit. It's 6 o'clock in the evening now. And I said, go home. Do not go and drop that load off. Don't put your life in danger like that. So by the time later on that night, it's 10:30 at night. And the person who drives the truck, and he says, I'm finally at home. He said, but all the truckers that works with me are stuck on the highway, have crashed. And this is when we had the notification that people were stranded on the highways. They couldn't make it home. And when I express, again, this podcast is called Fundamental Thinking. You have to think an emergency. You cannot put your life on the line for money, for a job. You got to start thinking fundamentally for resources, emergency thinking for the safety of you, because it's not just you, it's everybody around you. You have to put those things in perspective. But today's podcast is reminding everyone that when other states are having emergencies or weather issues, it's a great time to start thinking, what happens if this could happen to us? Or is it possible that we can fundamentally think outside of the box? Could this be a possibility that this could happen to us? And start thinking about steps to for life resources, to life reserve, to life expand, to make sure that you are safe, to make sure that your family are safe. But this is what I wanted to bring before you today, is to really think about our life, because like I stated before, although we're going into a high advanced technology, intelligence, I call it the intelligence of information, technology, environment, fundamentally thinking to reserve your life, it never changes. The foundations of it never changes. Weather is always going to come, regardless of how advanced technology becomes. Cars, even though they're going through a transformation from gas to electric, the fundamentals of what happens if I'm stranded, it still comes to play. What happens if, we really have to think outside of the box and not say, oh, this is happening over there, this is not going to happen to me. And it can, and it might, and if not, you can assist somebody else with the fundamental thinking that you have to share it so that they could reserve their life and preserve it and come out on a better end. But that's what I wanted to share today on our podcast. And again, our podcast title is Fundamental Thinking. Listen, you guys, hey, I know that there is this old saying, he says, am I my brother's keepers? Well, some of you may not think so, and some of you may think so. But either case, we are all people who do care. We do care about others. We do care about how others live and how they come out. But hey, you guys, let's be safe in the year 2021 and think, fundamentally thinking if you can. And if not, fundamentally think today and think about what if and what would be your scenarios of how to survive in a situation of an emergency. But this is the end of our podcast, and I thank you for listening. I thank you for just coming aboard and just listening to us and sharing and downloading our podcast weekly. And until next week, this is your girl, Sonya Buchanan, with the Sonya Buchanan Show, where we focus on one life, one smile at a time. Until next week, bye, you guys. And remember, fundamentally thinking and be safe. Bye. Thank you for listening to our broadcast, The Sonya Buchanan Show, where we focus on one life, one smile at a time. Until next time, bye, you guys.